Good morning. It is time for another PulseWave report with yours truly, Dex, the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports that we place in your hand each and every trading day. Hopefully, everyone had a good night's sleep and you're waking up refreshed and ready to tackle yet another day. That would be great if you were. I'm hoping that you are. I'm hoping that you are. Well, it seems that we have another situation before us. They're talking about these vaccines and getting everybody jabbed up. Now, to my understanding, Europe, they started jabbing everybody yesterday. So they're way ahead of the game in that regard. Now the issue is going to be, when do they start doing it in the US and blah blah blah. So we're gonna see what happens there, but that's kind of been the issue that we've been waiting and watching and seeing how things are gonna move. Your guess is as good as mine how they're gonna move with that. So we're waiting. We're gonna wait and see how this goes. I know a lot of people have already stated, like myself, no, thank you. You can keep your jab. Jab yourself, jab you and your kids, and see how that goes. Why don't you? So yeah, that's kind of where we are with it. To be quite honest with you, um, again, can you really trust a company that was given virtually immunity from its dealings, and the product was rushed through and bypassed all the normal channels and protocols to get to market in a hurry, and been given the green light by the federal government to do so? Can you really trust it? Would you trust the guy that's going to give you open heart surgery, who rushed through college and finished it in a week, and then went to medical school and finished medical school in 3 days? Would you trust this person to do your open heart surgery? Would you trust the mechanic who never went to any kind of formal mechanic schooling, and when he did a 3-hour course, and now he says, I'm ready to work on your car? Would you trust that? Would you trust food being prepared and given to you that was rushed? The vegetables were just plucked out of the ground in a hurry. They weren't washed thoroughly. None of that stuff, because we're in a hurry. People are hungry. Never mind all the sanitary protocols. Let's just go ahead and bypass all of that. And here it is. It's on your plate. Go ahead and eat up. Would you trust that? No, you would not. But yet you're being told that you should trust the vaccine that may or may not work, because how do we know? No studies were done. No long-term studies have been done. None of the normal protocols have been completed. It's been rushed, and then it got the stamp of approval by your government, giving it immunity, so that if people start dying or suffer irreparable harm, they have no liability whatsoever, because the government has given them a bulletproof vest. They can't be hurt. But they want you to trust it. Really? And even if, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say this is the greatest drug that they've ever created. And let's say 90% of people who take it get healed. Let's say worldwide, 300 million people take the vaccine And out of that, let's say 200 million of people are cured and relieved of that COVID-19 symptom, but the remaining 100 million all died. Would you say, well, it was worth it because we saved 200 million lives? Yeah, but you also lost 100 million lives. So you're saying because you cured more than you killed, it justifies it? Where do we begin to draw that line, ladies and gentlemen? Are you saying it's worth it if 100,000 people die? How about 10,000 people? How about 1,000 people? How about one person? I say one person's too many, especially because this situation was fast tracked. You jumped through all of the necessary roadblock protocols to get here. Would you call that safe? If you were being driven to work on a shuttle and the driver decided, I'm going to bypass all the stop signs and red lights, I'm going to ignore those and I'm going to keep going, do you really believe that you will arrive to work safely? Again, you would not trust this fast track approach to any other aspect of life, but you're being told to trust it in this situation. Trillions of dollars have been raised for cancer research, AIDS research, and to this day, there is no cure. But now all of a sudden, within a matter of weeks, they have a vaccine for COVID-19. Really? So you can cure the most mythological, paranormal virus in man's history, COVID-19, but you can't cure cancer and AIDS. Really? But we are to trust and believe you. Just take your word for it because you have the credentials MD after your name. Just trust you, you say. Do you know how many babies have been born because a guy said, trust me? You're asking us to drink a little bit of cyanide with our Gatorade and saying, just trust me. You will be fine. Here's an apple pie that I baked for you. I'm your grandmother. Just trust me. It only has a little bit of dog poop in it. Just a little bit. It's a little bit of dog feces. Just trust me. It's going to be okay. It's still delicious. Really? Really? You need to break down what the medical establishment is really all about, ladies and gentlemen, because it seems that the American people have been brainwashed and they got all of this up in here twisted. So let me help you with that. Let me break this down for you. Let me help you out. Now, as you know, here on this program, we pay homage to all of the wise sages and prophets that have gone on before us. So now I'm going to quote to you one of the wisest that I've ever known. He puts Plato and Socrates to shame. He goes by the name of Fire Marshal Bill. Let me show you something. And to quote another incredible prophetic voice of our time, Mr. McAfee. Let me tell you something. Our medical establishment is not built around cure. It's been built around what they call prevention. Prevention and cure are not the same. Prevention is also not 100% proof because there is still a chance, even though it may be slight, there's still a chance that something can go wrong. Okay? It's not 100%. Not all prevention is 100%. I'll give you an example because I know some of you are a little more slow-witted than others, and that's not your fault. It's okay. Brain damage is real, and we don't make fun of it on this show. So I understand. I will long suffer with those of you that are experiencing brain damage and find it rather difficult to gravitate toward what I am saying to you. It is not your fault. I understand. Okay? So it goes a little something like this. When I say that not all prevention is 100% definite, because there's still a chance, even though it may be slight, that calamity can still befall you. What do I mean? And do I have any examples? I'm glad you asked. Yes, I do. For example, you've heard the word abstinence before. But did you know that it is still possible for a woman to become impregnated who practices abstinence? Now, you guys are saying, Dex, we were with you up until this point, but now you've gone off into the deep end. Your mind is on Saturn or Jupiter somewhere. It's just out there. Hold on for a second, please. Whenever you're in a role, the phone always rings, and it's always important. But because we don't have any music on this show, it is rather difficult to produce it. So I just have to give you nothing but silence. Hopefully you will forgive me for that. All right, so where were we? I left you with that it is possible for a woman who practices abstinence to still become impregnated. And you're probably saying this guy is off his rocker. He's out of his mind. How can a woman who's practicing abstinence still become pregnant? I'm going to let you think about that just for a moment. She's practicing abstinence. That means she is not engaging in holding hands, kissing, petting, heavy petting, none of that stuff. Total abstinence. And you may be saying to yourself, this guy makes no sense. And where is he going with this? That what he is saying is patently false. If you're practicing abstinence, then you're never going to get pregnant because you're practicing abstinence. But see, you're thinking in a purist sense. I'm not so pure in my thinking at this moment. I would like for you to walk with me on the dark side, just for a wee bit. All right, just entertain me here as we walk on the dark side. So we have a woman in our scenario who is practicing abstinence, yet she has found herself to be pregnant. She's scratching her head and wondering, how is this even possible? My boyfriend and I don't even hold hands. We do not kiss. We don't engage in any physical contact whatsoever. The answer to this riddle, ladies and gentlemen, is that the lady was raped and she became pregnant. That is how a lady who is practicing abstinence can become pregnant, is she is raped. And that's what happened in this scenario. Right now, the American people and the people of the world in general are being mentally and psychologically raped by the authorities, the powers that be, the intelligentsia, because they want you to believe any and everything they say. All they have to do is preface it with national security, pandemic, any type of a scary notion that they throw out into the wind. The people will eat it up and say, yes, keep us safe, save us, save us. And you go like lemmings to the slaughter. And that's what's been happening here. You have been raped. Every time you attempt to muster an individual thought or idea, it is pimp slapped out of you. How dare you have independent thought? How dare you question our motives? How dare you question our science, which is really scientism? How dare you question that? Who do you think you are? You're nothing more to the powers that be than a Muppet, and a glorified one at that. You will do as you're told. You will speak that which has been spoken to you. Do you understand? No, you don't understand? Well, then you have to be sent to an education camp. Re-education camps do exist, and you just don't realize it. Most of you have been sent to a re-education camp, and you do not realize. You say, I was never sent to some building, some facility of a. What are you talking about? It's very simple. Have you changed your mind on a subject that you know for a fact is opposite your thinking and belief? The answer is yes. One of the methods that they use is peer pressure. You speak contrary on the subject in public, and your peers attack you because that's what they've been trained to do. Through psychological programming, anything that goes against the norm is considered no-no. And it is viciously attacked until you shut down and retract your statements and sit down in a corner and shut up like you were told to do, like you've been programmed to do. You are a robot. Robots only do what they were programmed to do. What are you doing? You have no volitional will. That's been beaten out of you. They beat it out of you in elementary school. They beat it out of you in grade school. They beat it out of you in university. As soon as you step foot in that classroom, your professor is dissecting you and putting you and twisting you into intellectual knots, like little pretzels in a desk that you cannot get out of. The first thing they do is they attack your faith. And if you are not well grounded in your faith, you will be shaken from it. That is what they do. That is what they do. It is part of the game. All right? You need to wake up to it. You need to do the knowledge to this. Peep the truth behind the scientism. It's not science, because science entails scientific method. Scientific method is also open to what is called peer review and debate. That is why peer-reviewed journals exist. But even they have now been co-opted. Even if you speak out in that, you can be ostracized, and you can even be threatened to lose your practice. That's right. You're a doctor, and you're trying to speak out. Be prepared to be brought before the board, the medical board. You can lose your right to practice medicine if you are so outspoken. This is how they get down. This is what they do. This is bully ball. All right? But no, you're not supposed to have open debate on the subject. Scientism does not allow for such things. Scientific discovery is part of the scientific process. But that has been seared with a hot iron. Scientific methodology can no longer be accepted. You now must take what is given to you without debate, without peer review, without public forum. The marketplace of ideas has been closed indefinitely. The marketplace is now closed and will not reopen. Please disperse back to your homes. This is a recording. And this is where we are today. And you must be asking yourself, how in the world did we get here? The same way the market got here. How do you explain Dow 30,000 when you know for a fact that the nations of the earth are bankrupt? The United States of America is bankrupt. What is the definition of bankrupt? It's when your liabilities outweigh your income. If you owe 1,000 but your income is 100, you're bankrupt. Your liabilities exceed your income. You owe 1,000,000, but you only make 100,000 a year. Your home is 10 times more than what you make in a year. Well, I got 30 years to pay this off. I got a 30-year mortgage. At the end of the 30 years, you have paid multiple times over the price of your house. But you're taught that this is a good thing. This is good. This is great. No, it is not. Most people see their homes as an asset. That is also wrong. An asset is something that generates income, positive cash flow. Positive cash flow is when you subtract liabilities from income. Now you have positive cash flow. So if you owe on your home and you're still cutting a check to the bank every month, that is not an asset. You're bleeding and hemorrhaging money. It's a liability. How does a property become an asset? With positive cash flow. If you own a piece of property and you pay $3,000 a month mortgage on it, but you have leased it and you take in $5,000 a month in rent on it, it now has positive cash flow. That property now is an asset and not a liability because you are netting positive after expenses. So they have everything that you have learned twisted, and it's been done on purpose. They tell you up is down and down is up, and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But you've been told that this is okay. You've been told that this exists. It doesn't make any sense. Like gravity doesn't make any sense. But they told you that it exists. Really? If gravity exists, then that means that it's pulling everything towards the center. And if that be the case, then how can planes fly? How can the plane even get off the ground? Why is it that some things float upward and not down? So gravity only works on some things and not others? They have you to think that gravity is the cause for everything instead of weight and volume and mass and density. Yeah, you've been tricked through scientism, not scientific method. All right? They tell you that theories are facts, and facts are just theories. They have you twisted upside down. What's going on? What's going on? See, their explanation for the wind is that the earth is spinning on an axis. That's why you have wind. Well, why is it some days that you can be in certain areas on the planet and there's no wind? How do you explain that? Doesn't make any sense. They want you to think that you are floating through outer space on a spinning rock that is spinning tens of thousands of miles per second. They want you to think that people who live toward the bottom of the spinning rock are technically upside down, but they want to tell you, no, they're not really upside down. They're downside up. And gravity is keeping them from falling off of the spinning rock and hurtling out into outer space. Really? They want you to believe that there are tens of thousands of satellites that human beings have launched into outer space. And yet these satellites don't crash into each other on this spinning momentum rock that is hurtling through space. They want to tell you that asteroids and stuff often hit and come into the Earth's atmosphere and burn up. So it's really nothing to see here. You never see them, but yet they never hit a satellite. We have tens of thousands of satellites. Just the mathematical probability of satellites constantly getting knocked out of orbit and out of the sky would be happening on such an alarming rate that they would no longer be able to put them up there because they'll be getting hit by asteroids and all types of rocks. But they want you to believe that. They want you to believe that there's something called a Orion's belt and all this other stuff. But how is that possible when everything is twirling and spinning through eternity? They want you to believe that, well, these planets are orbiting. What's making the planets orbit? You say they're orbiting. How are they orbiting? How is that possible? And yet they never bump into each other. So you got planets spinning around. You got tens of thousands of satellites. You got the theory of gravity, and yet nothing's crashing into each other. How is that? What put these so-called spinning rocks into motion? How come people who live at the bottom of the planet are not falling off the planet because they're upside down? Oh, but they have an answer for that too. They tell you, well, outer space, there is no up, down, left, or right in outer space. Really? Well, if that is the case, then how is it that we're able to see certain stars in the sky, no matter where you are on the planet? No matter where the planet is located when it's spinning at tens of thousands of miles per hour, orbiting around a sun. Really? Really? No one questions anything. They say, oh, it's just because. Here's your Big Bang. Okay, so where did the little cube come from that exploded and created the universe? Do you realize that their scientism, the religion of scientism is way more fanciful than any earthly religion? It is filled with more extraordinary fairy tales with zero evidence that they force you and want you to believe. It is easier to believe in any world religion than it is to believe in scientism. Because, see, at least with man-made, world religions, they don't change. The holy books are written and they are what they are. But scientism is ever evolving. But I thought it was scientific fact. How is scientific fact evolving? Facts don't evolve. Facts are facts. They're immutable. If 1 + 1 is always 2, that's an immutable fact. How can you say that it's ever evolving? It's not ever evolving. Facts are facts. You can't say it's Monday today and then next week when Monday rolls around, you say, really, it's not Monday anymore, it's Thursday. Because, science is ever changing. That doesn't make any sense. Facts are facts. Facts are facts. And they don't know anything. See, that's the problem with scientism. Scientific method is based on what you can reproduce in a lab. You cannot reproduce produce the Big Bang in a lab? Number one, you weren't there, so you have no idea what you're talking about. See, that's what they don't want to tell you. See, scientific method has limitations, and they don't want you to know that. They want you to say everything that we know and can be known is explained by science, yet there are myriads of things in the earth, below the earth, above the earth that they cannot explain. But they say, oh, everything can be explained. We just don't know. We just don't have the information yet. Really? Really? Observable facts are still observable facts. Observable facts are immutable. It doesn't make any sense. They don't make sense. Gravity is not a law. Gravity is a theory. Laws are not subject to change. Mathematical laws are not subject to change. Laws of physics are not subject to change. The first, second, and third law of physics does not change. It does not. You make no sense. All right? That is what they don't want. They don't want to say, hey, you guys, you know what? Scientific method has its limitations. Let's debate things and discuss things more openly without killing the person that you disagree with. That is how you know that certain immutable facts remain the same and constant no matter what era we are in. When people want to hide things, it gets a little hairy from that standpoint. And that's where we are right now. So much has been hidden from the public because they fear that once the public knows certain things, then they will lose their power over said public. Okay? It is what it is. Your gravity makes no sense because why does helium float? Oh, because it's lighter than air. Air has nothing to do. We're talking about gravity here. You don't make any sense. If gravity is constantly pulling everything down, then why do some things float away? You make no sense. And the answer is because of density. Density destroys your laws of your gravity. But you're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to refute that. One man said this, so it must be true, even though it was never debated. You know, Isaac Newton, when the apple fell on his head, there you go, boom, gravity. Really? Really? So things that flow upwards, what about those? What say you then? You can't. You see what I'm saying? They don't want you to debate and expose them. For the longest time, let's take it even closer to home. Let's go into these markets. Yeah, right. The Earth is pear-shaped. That's what your boy Tyson said. Come on now. But let's bring this back. Let's bring this back home. Let's talk about the markets, for instance. Okay. For the longest time, market participants swore by the Black-Scholes model. But did you know the Black-Scholes model has long since been debunked? It contains errors. It is wrong. But yet and still, some people still swear by it. Did you know that the fossil record is the biggest embarrassment to macroevolution? But they still claim that the fossil record bears macroevolution out when it does not. It does severe damage to the claim. But you are still taught macroevolution as a fact when it is not. It's really sad because you're not supposed to talk about these things. You can't have open adult conversations about it, not before it dissolves into ad hominem attacks and then physical attacks. And it's really sad. Many books have been written on these subjects. I'm not saying anything new to you. You're supposed to ignore doctors or scientists who contradict the line that must be told. If you do not toe the line, you are ostracized as a quack, even though you have the same degree, education, and skill level or more than you said peers. You are ostracized. How dare you speak against this? Because it's never really been about fact finding, ladies and gentlemen. It's been about control and corruption. That is why the marketplace of ideas has been permanently closed. No outside visitors allowed. And it's going to remain that way. Because you're not supposed to have open debates on anything. You're supposed to do as you're told, accept what you've been told. Hey, we brought out expert after expert who told you what we told you. So why are you still fighting this? The discussion has been closed. There's no debate on the subject. You remember your boy Al Gore? There's no more debate on the subject. Even after the whole man-made global warming catastrophe was debunked, people still preach it as scientific fact. Even though the email scandals that were exposed for the people to see, they still didn't believe. They still held on to their beliefs. These people know what they're talking about. Even though you have the emails that he sent laughing at you for believing such rubbish, you still say this man is brilliant. We've gotten to a point now, ladies and gentlemen, where the spirit of deception has become so powerful that now people no longer believe what they see, nor hear, nor experience. Experience is not to be believed. Seeing is not to be believed. Hearing is not to be believed. Reading is not to be believed. Nothing is to be believed except for what the government tells you. Do you not realize how dangerous an idea that is? But this is where we are. And this is where we will remain. Now you see why I remained so pessimistic about the future a decade ago on this YouTube. I told you that I knew for a fact, because of historical precedents, that man would continue down his way. The same way he has been going, the same way he has been headed for many a time. Because it's human nature. It's what happens. Peer pressure is real. Mob rule is real. Especially when the people that control the purse strings and the licensings hang it over your head. They say you will retract your statements or you will lose your license. You will retract your statements or this and that lawsuit will follow. You will retract your statements or we will sick this government administration on you. And that's the way of the world. That's how it's going. No one is immune to the attacks of the authorities. So this is where we are, people. Everyone's fighting Black Lives Matters. Everyone's standing in solidarity for that, but no one's standing in solidarity of the truth. It's all about public opinion, as long as their public opinion is the opinion of the government. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to this point. Where we go from here is entirely up to you. You've learned in this election, I hope, once and for all, that your vote has no meaning, that your presidents are selected and not elected. Your votes can and will be and have been thrown in the garbage and discarded like trash because you dared go against what the programming suggested that you do. And when you do that, you cause harm to the powers that be, because people that are in power tend to want to remain in power. And you interrupted that process. You upset that process. They spent a lot of money, time, and effort to get you to see things their way. And all efforts have failed, so now they must go to the strong arm tactic. That's what they do. And because they control what you hear and control what you see, and now even control what you say by way of censorship, either you do as you're told and fall in line, or else. That's where we are. As a society, as a people, as a nation, this is where we have arrived. Remember, all it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. And so far, along this realm that we have entered into in today's live stream, no one has dared tread foot into this territory. It is the forgotten lands, the forbidden forest. Your mind has become the forbidden forest. You are not allowed to use it, ladies and gentlemen. And if you do decide to use it, you may only use it within the confines that your ruling authorities have outlined for you. You may only tread to the territories therein that you have been given and granted divine access. And even then, you are limited to what rooms within the house you may wander. You've been put on a leash, and you haven't even realized it. You've been muzzled, and you haven't even realized it. Your rights and your privacy have been obliterated, and you haven't even noticed it. They even gave you the rhetoric to go along with it, to tell you, the programming, how you should think and feel about this process. Such as, well, I'm a good citizen, I have nothing to hide, so why not go ahead and give me an orifice probe? I have nothing to hide. I'm good people. Do with me as you will. Really? So that's where we're going now? Since when has that ever become acceptable behavior, ladies and gentlemen? I bid you, it has not. It has not. I know I left you with some things to think about. I know. Some hard things to think about. I know. It is hard. And it is lonely sometimes when you're standing alone and you have no one to offer you a way out. You're thinking, what should I do? Whither shall I go? And all I can tell you is to stand firm. You need to stand firm. That's what you need to do. Stand firm. It's a lot easier said than done, but it's all you have left. It's all you have. What else can you do? But stand firm. So I want to encourage you today, encouraging you to not give up individual think in exchange for group think. Don't do it. Okay? Stand firm. Even under the pain of death, stand firm. Do not stand down. Stand firm, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Don't let them take the last vestiges of being an individual human being from you. Stand firm. Hold fast to those things that you know to be true. Do not be pressured. Don't allow them to pressure you into groupthink. Groupthink is dangerous. And truth does not fear examination. Truth does not fear examination. If what the ruling authorities say is truthful, then why do they ever stand in fear of examination? Peer review exists for a reason. So why can't we have it? I thought the government was of the people, by the people, and for the people. Things have flipped around, haven't they? That no longer exists. Dissension is no longer tolerated. There is no marketplace of ideas. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to question your government. If you do, you're considered a radical. They say, oh, you're plotting to take down the government, take over the government, overthrow the government. Nothing could be further from the truth. It doesn't matter. It's what they can make people believe about you that matters, because they control the media engines and they can stuff it with as much propaganda about you as they wish. Don't let it be. Don't let this be so. Stand firm to what you know to be factual and true. Stand firm and hold to those things. And again, truth does not fear examination. If something is true, it will survive examination. You don't have to ever be afraid of inquiry. That's healthy. Because again, fear does not exist where truth lives. Truth is not afraid of factual examination, critical examination. Truth does not fear public debate. It doesn't. It doesn't fear peer review. Only lies do. Lies abhor truth and fear examination and must avoid examination at all costs. And it is willing to use violence if necessary to protect the lie. A lie is an armed man. A lie is a dangerous armed man with nothing to lose. And it is willing to fight to the death to stay alive. You must remember that. Okay? Open your eyes, people, to what is before you. Don't be taken in by all the nonsense. Don't let it drive you. Don't let it put fear into your heart to the point where you don't want to take a stand. Don't do that. Stand firm. Hold fast. Hold fast. Stay the course. You're going to be all right. And with that said, remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I'm out. Peace.